listening to the Really Useful Podcast. This is the tech podcast for technophobes from makeuseof.com. My name is Christian Colley, and with me this week is Ben Stegner. How are you, Ben?
Hello, Christian. Doing well. Welcome to February, and hope it's a lovely month for you.
Indeed. I mean, I'm
so to speak.
We're expecting wintry weather here in the UK over the weekend, but we'll see how it goes. In this week's Really Useful Podcast, we'll be looking at Sony splashing the cash on a games developer following Microsoft's lead. We'll be looking at the overwhelmed Wordle inventor. Facebook's cryptocurrency is going, and cyber attack strikes German fuel supplies. We've also got some tips and tricks for you and some recommendations. Benjamin, you missed last week's show where we were talking about... I've just got it Benjamin, I do apologise. Ben,
That's right, I feel like I'm in trouble, but I'll allow it this once.
Anyway, so last week, Gavin and I discussed the Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard, and I'm kind of the opinion that Sony will be like, whoa, you're not doing that, and referring everything to whatever monopolies commissions around the world that they could. They are not alone, though, Microsoft. The Sony have decided to buy Destiny developer Bungie, although for a lot less, for $3.6 billion.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, I guess, that Sony fought back, so to speak, with something like that. It's kind of a funny, the obvious thing to point out is that, Bungie started with Microsoft making the early Halo games, and that was like the system seller for Xbox when it was new. And then to have them come over is pretty interesting. It kind of makes me think of the old, like in the last generation, like late PS3, early PS4 generation, when it was the cross-generation games, like the first Destiny launched with exclusive content on PS4, or when the Call of Duty games had their DLC first on Xbox 360. It kind of feels like that, like petty back and forth of how can we entice people to play on our platform, even though the game's on both, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely, I would agree with that. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony aren't short of cash, but they probably don't have as much money as Microsoft have to spend on buying other companies. I'm interested to see if they end up just spending a load of money on lots of smaller games developers and end up potentially with kind of a better value than buying Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, there's so many different ways they could go with this. Well, there's two separate things I was thinking of. First of all, with this, I don't know exactly how big Bungie is, I'm afraid, but I don't know if it'll be, they keep Destiny 2 running for years and years, or if Destiny 3 is in the works, or what else they'll be working on. But also, yeah, there's a lot of like indie studios I can think of that really, I guess, either company could buy. But then I wonder, like, I think both of these companies have at least preliminarily said that those exclusive titles won't, or the titles made by the companies they bought won't be exclusive to their platform.
Yeah.
Because Xbox or Microsoft owning Activision could mean that, Overwatch 2 is a Xbox console exclusive, or the next Crash Bandicoot game or whatever. I feel like series like that have been exclusive to one system haven't been exclusive to one system for so long. It'd be weird to have that happen all of a sudden. I don't know. Yeah, with indie games, obviously an indie developer would be happy to get bought out, I think, and get a lot of money from that. But at the same time, then if their games are restricted to a smaller audience, they might not love that. So.
Yeah, I received an email a couple of days ago about 2022's most anticipated games. And this is based on monthly worldwide average search volume. Can you guess what the most anticipated game of 2022 is?
Probably either Pokemon Arceus or Arceus.
I'll give you a clue. It came out in 2013.
Came out in 2013?
Yeah.
Did Fortnite come out in 2013?
No.
Rocket League, that was later. It came out in 2013. Biggest game of this year. This shouldn't be hard.
I can put you out of your misery.
It shouldn't be this hard, but all right, give it to me. What is it?
Okay. It is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh,
for PS5 and Xbox Series X. This is probably something to do with the fact that so few people have been able to get hold of a PS5, I'm guessing. But looking at this list, there's a hell of a lot of things on there. GTA Online, Gran Turismo, God of War, titles that are either sequels or revivals of older game franchises. in the most anticipated games list. Curiously, also in the most anticipated games list is the Steam Deck, which is not a game, it's a console. I'm hoping to be able to talk about that on the Really Useful podcast when it comes along in a few months' time. So, that's the situation with Sony. They're kind of fighting back. Bungie released a tweet which says, Bungie has limitless potential to unite friends around the world. We have found a partner in PlayStation that shares our dream and is committed to accelerating our creative vision of building generation-spanning entertainment. Our journey begins today, which was 2 days ago. On January 31st, they released that. So, we'll see how that goes. And still on the subject of games, but the mobile type that apparently everyone's playing except me. Ben, are you playing it?
Oh, yeah, you haven't played it? Yeah,
No.
there's a YouTuber I like who's been mostly actually dormant on YouTube, but I still follow him on Twitter, and he was the first one where I saw the squares, and I was like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Usually when stuff is trendy, I just don't really like it, just for the sake that it's trendy, I guess. But I looked
Yeah,
it up.
that's
and
me.
I love its logic and its words, so two things I love. So yeah, I've been enjoying playing it every day.
So the inventor of word game sensation Wordle has sold it for a 7-figure sum. He says that it has gotten bigger than I ever imagined. It's called Wordle. He's called Josh Wardle. I don't know how he came up with the name for the app. Can you explain it to? I don't understand what it is. Is it just a word? What do you do?
Yeah, so basically, have you ever? I don't know if it's a game you had in the UK, but have you ever heard of the game Mastermind by chance?
Mastermind is like lots of little pegs on a long board with holes in, isn't it?
Right. So it's kind of like that, where every day there's a 5-letter word, and you get 6 chances to guess the word. So
Right.
whenever you make a guess, it'll highlight every letter. So if it's gray, it means the letter's not in the word at all. If it highlights the letter as yellow, it means the letter is in the word, but you have it in the wrong place.
I
If it's
see.
green, then it is in the word and you have it in the right place. So basically, through the process of elimination, you have 6 tries to figure out what the word is.
Okay.
And then what's made the game go so viral, if you're not familiar with it, is that when you finish it, you can share your results. And obviously, sharing a screenshot of the word would be a spoiler for anybody who hasn't played it yet. So it just shares the squares, so you can see basically your breakdown of your thought process, I guess, to get the word.
Right.
Which kind of made it go viral because everyone's did what I did. They saw those squares and thought, what is that? And then looked it up. So yeah, it's kind of like Mastermind in the sense that you're trying to crack the code with so many guesses.
The thing about Mastermind, this will not amuse you in the slightest, I'm sure, Ben, or anyone else in the US. But in the UK, Mastermind is this long-running TV quiz show.
Oh, okay.
And what happens is there's 4 contestants, and they have to do a round on general knowledge and one on their specialist subject. And the questions are quite fast at them, and they're sat in a big black chair in a darkened studio. There's a studio audience, but it's darkened, and there's a light on them, so it's a bit like an interrogation. When the Mastermind game came out in probably the 1970s, people would look at it and think, what the hell is this? What's it got to do with Mastermind? No one knew what it was. So what happens is this old Mastermind game basically turns up at kind of car boot sales and church fates and flea sales and things like that, and it like costs 10p or whatever. No one knows no one understands its relevance to anything other than it being a bit of a puzzle game and nothing to do with Mastermind the TV show.
That is, I think that's really funny. I don't know if we've talked about this, but I've definitely noted it before with video games where they have to change the name of it overseas because it interferes with something.
Yeah.
So it is funny where that wouldn't ever happen to us, but then like a big show like that, you would automatically assume that if you see the game, it's related to the game show. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's like another example that just always comes to mind. So there's the game Star Fox 64. That was a sequel to the original Star Fox here. That was called Lilat Wars in Europe because I think there was a German company called Star Vox VOX,
Right.
and they were worried that it would be too close to the name, so they just changed it.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, well, in the UK, you know Top Cat?
The cartoon character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the UK, this is ridiculous. In the UK, it was renamed Boss Cat for TV listings, and when they announced it, it would be because Top Cat's doing some sort of Officer Dibble in the next episode of Boss Cat. But the titles would say Top Cat, and the theme tune was the same theme tune. But it was renamed because there was a cat food called Top Cat, and it was on BBC TV. And the BBC, because it's paid for by the license fee, a monthly payment, they're not allowed to advertise commercial products on BBC. So
Oh,
they had to
okay. It
rename
was too
it.
close to the real
Yeah,
name.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, back to Wardle. Josh Wardle says, it has been incredible to watch a game bring so much joy to so many, and I feel so grateful for the personal stories some of you have shared with me, from Wordle uniting distant family members to provoking friendly rivalries to supporting medical recoveries. On the flip side, I'd be lying if I said this hasn't been a little overwhelming. After all, I am just one person, and it is important to me that as Wordle grows, it continues to provide a great experience to everyone. So he's sold it to the New York Times.
I mean, that's pretty much a rags to riches isn't the right word, but like the classic story. Like it feels very. Someone else at the site said this. It feels very like early internet to me, like just some fun little game that people discovered and just kind of naturally went viral.
Yeah,
No ads, no like signing up or any of that nonsense. It's just very simple, fun, 5 minutes a day, and then you can't play till the next day. So it's very calming in a simple way, which is I think why so many people love it.
yeah, definitely. So that's nice. I might try it out. I'm a bit busy. I'm playing the 2020 re-release of Turrican on the Nintendo Switch at the moment, so that's probably taking up most of my gaming time. Facebook's funded cryptocurrency DM is being wound down. The DM Association, which runs the project, announced the sale of assets of the cryptocurrency venture to Silvergate Capital Corporation for $182 million. It was originally launched as Libra in 2019, and they got into a bit of trouble with policymakers, and it's just been stuck. It's been quagmired. Dialogue with federal regulators fell through, and as a result, the best path forward was to sell DM Group's assets. I'll be honest, I'd completely forgotten that Facebook had a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, me too. I forgot about the name Libra does ring a bell.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that, like whispers of that when it was new, but I don't think I've ever heard the DM name, to be honest. That was unbeknownst to me.
yeah, same here. It's I mean, it's clearly something. It's one of those things that it's like with this current thing with a few years ago, tech companies were getting into cryptocurrencies because, this is the next big thing. People are putting money into cryptocurrencies. We want to set up our own cryptocurrency. This year, it's NFTs. There's all these companies setting up NFTs, launching NFTs this month, and lots of people saying, we're not interested. Just don't do that.
Yeah, I've actually seen this as a slight tangent, but on the topic of like NFTs popping up everywhere. I follow a couple of voice actors for video games on Twitter and stuff, just the ones that I really like. And there's been a bit of drama, I guess, over the last couple of weeks where a couple of like big name voice actors were starting to shill for NFTs that seemed kind of shady. I think there was a big indie publisher, I forget which one it was, like was promoting same thing, like promoting NFTs, and a bunch of people were saying we want nothing to do with this. So it seems like it's going from 0 to 100 in the gaming sphere too, whether people want it or not.
Yeah, it's maybe, I don't know. I just think maybe these companies would be better off sticking to what they do well, rather than. And then again, on the other hand, with it being Facebook / Meta, maybe I'd rather they were messing around with cryptocurrencies and NFTs and messing around with my personal data. But there you go. We talked about cyber attacks a couple of weeks ago, and Germany's major fuel supplier, Oil Tanking Deutschland GmbH and Co. KG, stores and transports oil, vehicle fuels, and other petroleum products for companies like Shell. They discovered on Saturday, just gone, that they had been hacked. Now, at the moment, there's no details, and as far as we can tell, no one has claimed it. And it's not even certain whether it is a straightforward hack or a disruption or a ransomware attack. But I think it just highlights again that these things are taking place quite a lot. They were left operating at a limited capacity following the cyber attack, which disrupted their IT systems. And that's the most information that they are giving.
Yeah, I guess maybe they're just not really wanting to disclose any more details until
No.
they know, or maybe they just don't know at all. I mean, some of those attacks last year, early reports, right, said that it was something and then it wasn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think there was one that was claimed to be ransomware, and it was really just like an error that shut something down. So hopefully this year does not continue the trend of last year of all those ransomware attacks, because it felt like every month there was some new like meltdown, critical level breach.
Yeah. Oil tanking has been active in tank storage logistics since 1972. So they are one of the largest independent operators of tank terminals for oils, gases, and chemicals worldwide. And looking at the photo of one of their installations, I'm put in mind of how similar it looks to the installations on my doorstep. And it's just made me realize how close I am to an industrial cyber attack potentially causing havoc.
Best not to think about that too much, I guess.
Yeah. Let's move on. We will carry on this really useful podcast with a look at eBay scams. I think by this stage, if you don't know that there are scams on eBay, you should probably not be using eBay at all. Until you've read up on it a little bit. If that is the case, or if you just want a refresher, we are here with some information that may not exactly put your mind at rest, but give you plenty of things to consider and think about with eBay. Now, this is stuff that we have looked at before. We've revised it slightly, which is why we are discussing it again. There are all sorts of things that could happen on eBay. You could be very lucky and successfully purchase something without anything going wrong at all. And I suppose that is the majority of transactions on eBay. But they don't all work out that way, do they, Ben?
No, yeah. So most of the time, I've bought some stuff on eBay. Generally, just use buy it now to grab a used game or some like trinket I need that I can't find elsewhere. And generally, it goes fine, but there are some to look out for. So we can go through the list here, discuss some of these. So generally, if you're buying on eBay, you're usually okay because eBay's policies tend to side with the purchaser, but you still got to be careful. Um, the number one scam is seller running off with your money. So most of the time, eBay has a money back guarantee that covers you if the seller, sends you a broken item or something, or they broke their promise of what they were sending you. But there are some categories to be aware of on eBay that don't include this guarantee. Typically, it's really expensive stuff like vehicles, services, websites for sale, business equipment, and now digital content, NFTs. So none of that's protected. So if you're buying something like that, it's extra important to make sure that you trust the seller. Have you ever bought a vehicle on eBay, Christian?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay.
Back in 2011, my wife gave birth to twins, and we had a tiny little Nissan Micra, which is basically a two-door hatchback. And it wasn't even big enough to we could get the pram in the back, but we had to do it in a very certain way into the boot, and we couldn't get anything else in the car. So I bought a Vauxhall Zafira, which is a 7-door MPV, on eBay for about £800, and it was a proper old banger.
I don't think I've ever. If I know anyone else that's bought a car on eBay, I don't know that they did. So that's cool. I was kind of joking because I think it's funny how you can buy like boats on eBay. But
yeah,
how about that? Okay.
Yeah, it was nearby as well, so I didn't have to go far for it. It was like a private seller as well. It wasn't a dealer.
Okay, yeah. So it was more like using Craigslist or something than
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. So the second one, if you're buying a potential scam, is that the seller ships the item with an incorrect name. So the way that this works is they ship you the package to your address, but they intentionally put the wrong name on the package. So when you get your address but the wrong name and you think it's for someone else, so you return it. What happens is that this marks your package as refused or returned, and because that voids the eBay money back guarantee, you can't request a return for the item, but you've already paid for them to ship it to you. So basically the way around that one is if you're expecting a package and the tracking number says it's delivered and you have a package with you, probably best to open it and make sure that you got what you ordered. If not, you can always check with the seller.
Yeah.
Then the third one isn't so much of a scam as it is just kind of a scummy practice that people do. Listings for an empty box. So this is common, like right now, for example, if you're trying to find a PS5, or sometimes when you're trying to buy like an older video game that's a little bit expensive, people will have a listing where it'll say like this one here, game box and manual only, or just the title of it with no game. And if you don't notice that, you might think, oh, that's a great deal for that game. I haven't seen it that low. And then you buy it and you're buying the case and the manual. So make sure that it's you double check the wording that you're not just buying a box, because that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that you should always do, is check through that description very carefully before you commit to even bidding, never mind buying.
Right, because you might not, for example, say you're bidding on like a MacBook. You want to make sure you know what generation it is, so that you don't think it's the newest one and it's actually 5 years old. So they might not phrase that very well. Okay, so let's look at some of these seller scams. So these are more of a risk, because like we said, eBay tends to side with the buyer, so you have to protect yourself from these. A common scam on eBay and elsewhere is when the buyer offers to overpay. So this is where you have an item listed for $300 and they tell you, I'll send you 500. The scam here is that they send you usually like a check that's no good, and then they say, oh, whoops, I sent you too much money, can you refund me the money? And by the time you realize the check bounced, you sent them $200 to make up the difference, quote unquote, but you're sending them your real money when they sent you a phony check that's just going to bounce. Similarly to this, a common eBay scam is when the buyer wants to settle outside of eBay. Yeah. eBay's policies dictate that you have to do everything through their systems. So if someone ever tells you they want to settle it, they'll just send you the money on PayPal, or can we talk on WhatsApp or whatever. Never do that, because you have no protection from eBay if you get scammed. And that's usually a sign that someone does want to scam you too. Yeah. A couple more here. So these are related to some of the shipping. The buyer can claim that you shipped an empty box. When this happens, eBay would force a return of the item. The person would keep what you sent them, and then they ship you back the empty box. So the best way to combat this and some of these other scams too is to take as much photographic proof as you can. So when someone buys something from you, take pictures showing that you put the item in the package and that you shipped it on whatever day. If you have metadata on the photos that shows the location, the time, that's even better. If you can prove that you put those items in that box, the buyer can't claim that you shipped them an empty box, because you have proof that you didn't do that. Another insider tip, I guess, if you didn't have pictures, you could ask the post office to retrieve the weight information. And if you're shipping something that's not super light, it should prove that the package wasn't empty when you sent it. Yeah, if you can get that info from the post office, but it should be, that obviously if you're shipping like a laptop, that's not going to be an empty box's weight. So another one is when they threaten a refund with a broken replica. So this would be something where you're selling maybe like an iPhone or an item that's common but in high demand. They purchase the item from you, but you don't realize that they have a broken one that's the same. So when you ship the good item to them, they claim that you sent a broken one, and then they do a refund, and then they'll send the broken one back to you and keep your the one that actually works, and then you'll be out the money. So in addition to taking pictures, another good way to combat this is to save, for anything that has like a serial number or anything like that, always save that when you send it. So if anyone tries to do this, you can prove the device that you sent had this serial number and it's not the same as the one they're trying to scam you with. That's about it. Another general one is a chargeback. So that's like a forced refund. If someone asks for a refund, it's best to give it to them, because otherwise you have to eat the chargeback fee, which is typically $20 or so. So someone could do this if they claim you've done something wrong. So PayPal's user agreement does protect you from these chargebacks. So if they're frivolous, you're protected against them. But if someone's threatening you with one, then it's usually better just to refund them. And then of course, phishing is the last one. Be careful never to fall for a fake email claiming to be from eBay, because that's a scam that anyone can fall for, no matter what you use the site for.
Absolutely right. Everything Ben has just told you, you'll find not only on Make Use Of, but also on YouTube, because we've got a video to accompany that article. Everything that we discuss in this week's show, you will find in the show notes. Let us move on to our recommendations for this week. We've both, this is a section of the show where we recall something that's happened in the past week related to the digital world that you may be interested in knowing a bit more about. And then you can either ignore us, laugh at us, or go off and do your own thing. It really doesn't matter because we can't hear you. Who's going first, myself or you, Ben?
Oh, you go first.
Okay, it's always me first on this feature. So last week I went out for a drive with my family to a nearby town called Whitby, which you may have heard of. It's in the northeast of England, North Yorkshire coast. It plays a significant part in the story of Bram Stoker's Dracula because it's where the ship runs aground and the chap from Transylvania escapes, even though he's assumed to be dead at this point. Obviously, he's not because he's a vampire. And so Whitby, vampire land? No, Whitby isn't too far from me. It's about 20 miles away. And the interesting thing about Whitby is that it's actually quite remote. Although it's well known, it's quite remote. It is an hour by road from all of the major roads in the UK. It's also an hour by train from the main railway stations in the UK, York and Middlesbrough/Darlington. It's an hour by train, it's an hour by road. So it is kind of remote. So I suppose I shouldn't have been that surprised by what I found. So we went there because it's a good place to get fish and chips. There are plenty of places you can get fish and chips, but this is a particularly good place. And walking along, heading back to the car, we just finished fish and chips. And I had a deep fried battered haddock if you're interested. And we passed an amusement arcade. Popped in. Kids had a bit of pocket money to spend on the 2-penny shovey machines. And then at the back, I saw it. Afterburner Climax. Arcade machine actually working. Afterburner Climax, I think, was released on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 in about 2008 or 9. But this is the first time I'd seen the actual arcade version of Afterburner Climax. And back in the day, a long, long time ago, like 30 years ago, 30 years ago, there was an original Afterburner arcade machine in my hometown. And this one of them would work, one of them was broken, and there'd be the stand-up one. And I hadn't played Afterburner for years, so I got on it. And I had my daughter film me playing Afterburner Climax. And I put about £2 in it, and I had an absolutely fantastic time. And now, obviously, you can't go out and play Afterburner Climax unless you're in Whitby, or happen to be visiting Whitby. But I think what my recommendation is, go out and find an old arcade machine is basically it.
Yeah, I like the idea of like stumbling across an old treasure trove of arcade machines like that, like games you didn't even know existed or forgot about or
Yeah.
haven't played for decades or whatever. I've never played Afterburner, but I just looked up a clip of it and it looks fun. It looks like the kind of game that'd be a great fit for an arcade cabinet that has like the immersive seat and all that. It kind of looks like we were talking about Star Fox earlier, which I love that game. It kind of almost looks like a fast-paced Star Fox, like way faster. But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I feel like there's a couple I can think of, but there's one at an amusement park near me that has a decent amount of games, but there's so many I'd like to try because arcades are kind of an era that I haven't had much experience with personally. So there's a lot to discover there.
Absolutely. So what's your recommendation?
My recommendation this week is a YouTube channel. So it's not super techy, but it's still kind of fun, I think, if you have the same interest as me. It's a YouTube channel called JJ McCullough, who is a YouTuber from the Vancouver, Canada area. He does a bunch of videos about mainly like culture. So some of the ones I've enjoyed of his recently are about the culture of food. So he did a video of like faux authentic cultural traditions, he called them, which is like things in the West that we're told are traditions elsewhere that really aren't.
Right.
Like how fortune cookies aren't Chinese or things like that. And then he also did a video on what other countries are sold as American products, which I thought was interesting. Being an American, obviously, I thought it was funny to see what countries across the world market to American sensibilities.
Yeah.
A little closer to tech. One of his recent videos is about visual anachronisms, which is symbols that we use mainly in like UIs that are totally outdated, like the fact that the floppy disk is used for save even though floppy disks haven't been used for however long, or the phone icon on iPhone still looks like an old like pick it up off the wall phone, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, if you enjoy any kind of like cultural commentary or just like looking at why something is the way it is. He also did a video recently about how how the metric system has had like half adaptation in Canada and the UK, and to a lesser extent the US. I learned a couple things I didn't know about how the countries use the metric and imperial systems. So yeah, if you like stuff like that, he's a good channel to check out.
Wow, nice one. Yeah, we'll have a look at that. And as mentioned earlier, everything discussed in this really useful podcast you'll find in the show notes, including a video of me playing Afterburner Climax. We will be back with a new really useful podcast next week. Until then, it's goodbye from us.